Captain James Walker stood at perfect attention in the gleaming white corridor of the Galactic Council's flagship, the *Starseeker*. His crisp blue uniform, decorated with Earth's new Space Force insignia, felt a bit tight around his neck. He could feel the weight of the experimental armor beneath his formal wear, but he didn't let it show in his stance. The ship's air had a strange metallic taste, and the artificial gravity felt just slightly off, as if someone had adjusted Earth's gravity by a tiny fraction. But Walker had trained for this moment for 3 years. He was humanity's first diplomatic representative to the Galactic Council, and he wasn't going to let a little discomfort ruin this historic day. 2 tall, blue-skinned security officers led him through a series of doors that opened with soft, whooshing sounds. Their ceremonial plasma rifles gleamed under the bright lights. Walker had been briefed about these weapons. They were symbols of status among the Council races, capable of reducing a small vehicle to ash in seconds. The main chamber took his breath away. The ceiling stretched so high it disappeared into darkness, and the walls curved in impossible ways that made his eyes hurt if he looked too long. Around a massive U-shaped table sat the representatives of 12 advanced alien civilizations. Some floated in containment fields, others sat in specially designed chairs, and a few were simply masses of light that hurt to look at directly. Announcing Captain James Walker of Earth, a computerized voice echoed through the chamber. Walker noticed how some of the aliens flinched at his appearance. Humans were new to them, and their solid form and bilateral symmetry seemed to unsettle some of the more exotic species. "Welcome, Earth Captain," spoke the head counselor, a tall figure with crystalline skin that sparkled under the lights. "We trust your journey through the Quantum Gate network was comfortable." "Very much so, honored counselor," Walker replied, bowing exactly 45 degrees as instructed. "Earth extends its gratitude for this opportunity." A younger alien diplomat, probably no more than a junior aide, hurried forward with a data tablet. His 4 arms juggled several devices, and the ceremonial plasma rifle strapped to his back swayed dangerously. Walker kept his diplomatic smile fixed in place, even as he noticed the weapon's safety catch wasn't properly engaged. "The human appears well-trained in diplomatic protocol," observed one of the floating light beings. "Perhaps the reports of their primitive nature were exaggerated." Walker opened his mouth to respond, but what happened next seemed to unfold in slow motion. The junior aide tripped over his own ceremonial robes. As he stumbled, the plasma rifle slipped from its holder. The weapon discharged as it hit the ground, sending a bolt of superheated plasma directly at Walker's chest. The chamber erupted in chaos. Several council members disappeared in flashes of emergency teleportation. Others screamed in frequencies that made Walker's teeth vibrate. The crystalline head counselor turned a pale, sickly white. The bolt struck Walker square in the chest. He felt the impact like a heavy punch, and the smell of ozone filled the air. His experimental armor absorbed most of the blast, dispersing the energy across its nanofiber mesh, but it still hurt like hell. For a moment, complete silence fell over the chamber. The remaining council members stared in horror, expecting to see a human-shaped ash pile on their pristine floor. The junior aide had all 4 hands clasped over his face, shaking in terror. Instead, they saw Walker still standing, smoke rising from his slightly scorched uniform. The armor beneath had done its job, though he'd definitely have some bruising tomorrow. Looking down at his chest, then back at the horrified faces around him, Walker made a decision that would change human-alien relations forever. He laughed. The sound echoed through the silent chamber, bouncing off the curved walls. It wasn't a nervous laugh or a pained one. It was genuine amusement at the sheer absurdity of the situation. His first diplomatic meeting, and he'd already been shot. The council members stared in disbelief. Their most advanced weapon technology, reduced to a source of entertainment for this strange Earth creature. In the back of the chamber, one of the light beings flickered rapidly, their equivalent of fainting. This was definitely not how Walker had planned to start humanity's entrance into galactic politics, But sometimes the best diplomatic opportunities came from the most unexpected places. Captain Walker's laughter died down to a chuckle as he straightened his scorched uniform. The smell of burned fabric filled the air, but the experimental armor underneath had held together perfectly. His chest hurt where the plasma bolt had hit, but he'd had worse injuries playing sports back on Earth. "I apologize for laughing," Walker said, still grinning, "but you should all see your faces right now." He paused, realizing some of the aliens didn't actually have faces. "Well, your expressions, I mean." The head counselor's crystalline form had shifted from sickly white to a confused shade of purple. You are unharmed." The translator struggled to convey the mix of disbelief and fear in the alien's voice. "Just a bit bruised," Walker replied, tapping his chest. "Your weapons technology is impressive, but we humans are pretty tough. And we come prepared." The junior aide who had dropped the weapon was still trembling, all four arms now wrapped around himself in what seemed to be a self-hug. But the plasma blast, it should have. You should be dead." Walker finished for him. "Sorry to disappoint. Look, accidents happen. No harm done." He walked over to the terrified aide and picked up the fallen plasma rifle, carefully engaging the safety before handing it back. This simple act of forgiveness seemed to shock the council members even more than his survival. Murmurs filled the chamber as the council members who had teleported away began returning, their curiosity overcoming their fear. The floating light beings pulsed with rapid patterns that the translator couldn't quite keep up with. Words like impossible and extraordinary echoed around the room. A tall, insectoid creature stepped forward, its antennae twitching with scientific interest. "Our plasma weapons are capable of melting through battleship armor. How is it possible that you survived?" Walker shrugged, a very human gesture that seemed to fascinate the gathered aliens. "Let's just say Earth has some pretty extreme weather. You learn to build tough stuff when you live on a planet that regularly tries to kill you with everything from lightning to tsunamis. Your planet tries to kill you." The crystalline head counselor's color shifted to a worried blue. "And you speak of this so casually." "Oh, that's nothing," Walker said, warming to his subject. "You should see what we do for fun. Have you heard of skydiving? That's where we jump out of perfectly good aircraft just for the thrill of it." The junior aide fainted at this revelation, all four arms going limp as he slumped to the floor. Several other council members looked like they might join him. "Perhaps," the head counselor said carefully, "we should continue our diplomatic discussions. But first, would you permit our medical team to examine you? For your own safety, of course." Walker knew this was really about their curiosity, but he saw an opportunity. "I'd be happy to undergo an examination in exchange for some technical discussions about your plasma weapons. Earth would be very interested in learning more about Council technology." The insectoid scientist's antennae perked up with excitement. Yes, a fair exchange. We must understand how your defense systems work." As medical staff and scientists were summoned, Walker noticed how the other council members were looking at him differently now. The fear was still there, but it was mixed with something else, respect, and more than a little worry. They had just learned that humans could shrug off their most advanced weapons, and instead of responding with anger or threats, their representative had laughed it off and turned it into a diplomatic opportunity. In less than 10 minutes, Walker had accidentally achieved what might have taken months of careful negotiation. Sometimes, he reflected, the best diplomacy happened by accident. He just hoped the bruise on his chest wouldn't be too bad tomorrow. He had a feeling the next few days were going to be very busy. The medical bay of the Star Seeker looked more like an art gallery than a hospital. Strange devices hung from the ceiling like silver sculptures, and the walls pulsed with soft, healing lights. Captain Walker sat on an examination table that adjusted itself to his body shape, while 3 different alien medical officers studied the readings from his armor. "Fascinating," said the chief medical officer, a short alien with 6 eyes and skin that changed color like an octopus. "Simply fascinating. The armor absorbed the plasma energy and spread it across its entire surface. Walker smiled as they examined the nanofiber mesh beneath his ruined uniform. "It's actually based on something we developed for our Mars colonies," he explained. "The storms there can get pretty nasty." The insectoid scientist from earlier was practically dancing with excitement, all 6 legs tapping against the floor. "But this material, it's so simple, yet we never thought to use it this way. How did you discover this?" "Well," Walker said, wincing slightly as a medical scanner passed over his bruised chest, "it started with a camping tent, believe it or not." The aliens looked at him blankly, and Walker realized he needed to explain. "Camping is when humans go out into the wilderness for fun. We sleep in temporary shelters called tents. One of our engineers was camping during a thunderstorm when lightning struck near her tent. The tent's waterproof coating conducted the electricity around the outside instead of through it. You sleep outside. In storms. For entertainment." The color-changing medical officer turned a pale shade of green. "That's not important right now," Walker said quickly, seeing several medical devices starting to flash in alarm. "The point is, this engineer realized we could use the same principle on a larger scale. We needed something to protect our Mars colonies from dust storms that carry enough static electricity to fry our equipment." The insectoid scientist was typing frantically on a datapad. "But to adapt this technology for plasma weapons, the energy levels are completely different." Walker nodded. "That's where the nanofibers come in. Each fiber is like a tiny wire that can channel energy. When something hits the mesh, like a plasma bolt, the energy gets spread out across billions of these fibers. No single point takes too much damage." The medical officer's skin rippled with patterns of blue and gold. "Your species developed this technology just to survive on another planet in your system. Mars is just the beginning," Walker said. "We're looking at colonies on Venus too, though that's proving trickier. The acid rain there eats through most materials." There was a loud clatter as one of the junior medical assistants dropped their scanner in shock. The device floated gently to the floor, caught by the room's safety fields. "You want to build colonies on a planet with acid rain." The insectoid's antennae were twisted in knots of confusion. "Why not choose a more hospitable world?" Walker shrugged, another human gesture that seemed to fascinate them. "Because it's there. Because it's challenging. Because every time we solve a problem like acid rain or dust storms, we learn something new that helps us in other ways, like making armor that can stop plasma bolts." The chief medical officer's skin had settled into a deep shade of purple that Walker was starting to recognize as their version of deep thought. "Your species seeks out dangerous environments for the purpose of learning from them." "Pretty much," Walker agreed. "Earth itself taught us that lesson. We've got deserts hot enough to cook you alive, oceans that can crush you with pressure, storms that can throw cars around like toys, and volcanoes that make your plasma weapons look mild. We had to learn to adapt." The room fell silent as the aliens processed this information. Walker could almost see them reevaluating everything they thought they knew about humans. They had assumed humanity's survival of the plasma blast was due to advanced technology. Now they were realizing something far more interesting. Humans had developed this technology, almost by accident, simply because they refused to let hostile environments stop them from exploring. The insectoid scientist finally broke the silence. "I believe," it said carefully, "that the Council will want to hear more about these camping tents." The emergency council meeting was in its 3rd hour. Captain Walker sat in a newly provided chair, sipping something that the aliens assured him was safe for humans. It tasted like mint mixed with orange juice. Not bad, but definitely strange. Around him, the council chamber had turned into a scene of barely controlled chaos. "They build homes in acid," shouted one of the light beings, its glow flickering rapidly. "They jump from the sky for fun. And their defensive technology comes from camping equipment." The head counselor's crystalline form had been shifting through various colors for the past hour, finally settling on a deep gold. Please, let us maintain order. We must discuss the implications of this calmly." Walker watched as different alien groups huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. The junior aide who had shot him earlier had been given a seat of honor, much to Walker's amusement. Apparently, accidentally shooting the human representative was now considered a fortunate diplomatic accident. "Captain Walker," the head counselor said, "our scientists have reviewed the medical scans. They confirm that your armor technology is remarkably simple, yet effective. This raises several concerns." Concerns? Walker kept his voice neutral, though he was smiling inside. The bruise on his chest was worth every moment of this meeting. An alien that looked like a floating jellyfish drifted forward. "If your species can turn camping equipment into plasma-resistant armor, what else might you develop? What other simple solutions might you discover?" "Well," Walker said thoughtfully, "we do have lots of ideas. Earth's Space Force has some interesting projects in development." This wasn't exactly true. Most of the projects were still in the planning stages. But the aliens didn't need to know that. The chamber erupted again. The insectoid scientists' antennae were spinning in circles. "We must share our technology with them," it declared, "before they develop something more powerful by accident." "Share our technology." A large, rocky-looking alien rumbled in protest. "With a species that treats deadly environments as tourist destinations." Walker cleared his throat. "If I may suggest something." All eyes, light sensors, and other sensory organs turned to him. "Earth is very interested in peaceful cooperation. We have lots to learn from the Council, and maybe a few things to teach as well." The head counselor's color brightened. "You propose an exchange of knowledge." "Exactly," Walker said. "You've seen how we approach problems differently. Imagine combining your advanced science with our unique perspective." The chamber grew quiet as the council members considered this. Walker could almost see them imagining the possibilities and the potential disasters if humans were left to develop technology on their own. "There is wisdom in this," the head counselor finally said. "But we must establish guidelines. Protocols. We cannot have humans experimenting with our technology the way they experiment with their environments." "Of course," Walker agreed, hiding a grin. They still didn't understand that restrictions would only make humans more creative. "We're happy to follow Council's safety protocols." The jellyfish alien drifted closer. "And you will share all your defensive technology developments with the Council." "Absolutely," Walker said. "Starting with our Mars colony designs. I'm sure you'll find our solutions to dust storms interesting." He didn't mention that Earth's engineers were already dreaming up new applications for the alien plasma technology they'd observed today. The head counselor's crystal surface sparkled, apparently their version of a formal gesture. "Then we are agreed. I believe this marks the beginning of a most unusual alliance." Walker stood and bowed perfectly again, despite his bruised chest. "Earth looks forward to working with the Council," he said diplomatically, while thinking about how excited Earth's scientists would be when they heard about this. Sometimes the best way to advance humanity's position in the galaxy was to let others underestimate you, right up until they shot you with a plasma gun, and you laughed it off. In the depths of the Star Seekers Research Lab, Dr. Rax, the ship's lead scientist, stared at the holographic display with all 8 of his eyes. His tentacles moved quickly over the control panel as he studied the detailed scans of Walker's armor. Something wasn't adding up. "Computer, enhance the molecular structure again," he commanded. The hologram zoomed in, showing the intricate pattern of the nanofiber mesh. Dr. Rax's skin rippled with excitement as he finally understood what he was seeing. Meanwhile, Captain Walker was in another diplomatic meeting when his communicator buzzed quietly. The message was from Dr. Rax. "Must speak with you. Urgent. About the armor." Walker kept his face neutral, though his heart beat a little faster. He politely excused himself from the meeting and made his way to the research lab. As the door slid open, he found Dr. Rax practically bouncing with energy. "Captain Walker, Dr. Rax's tentacles were gesturing wildly at the holographic display. "I've made the most fascinating discovery about your armor." Walker maintained his diplomatic smile. "Oh, what have you found?" "It's brilliant. Simply brilliant." Dr. Rax moved his tentacles through the hologram, manipulating the image. The nanofiber mesh isn't just a simple energy dispersal system. It's an incredibly complex network of programmable fibers. Each one can adapt to different types of energy attacks. Walker stayed silent, letting the scientist continue. "But here's the truly amazing part." Dr. Rax's voice dropped to an excited whisper. "This particular mesh was only completed recently. The molecular decay patterns show it's less than a month old. You didn't even know if it would work against our weapons, did you?" For a moment, Walker considered trying to maintain the story about proven Mars colony technology. But looking at the eager scientist's face, he decided on a different approach. "You're right," Walker admitted. "The armor was experimental. We had tested it against electrical charges and heat, but never against plasma weapons. I was as surprised as anyone when it actually worked." He expected Dr. Rax to be upset at the deception. Instead, all 8 of the aliens' eyes widened with joy. "Even better," Dr. Rax exclaimed. "You humans didn't just develop amazing defensive technology. You did it without even knowing about the weapons you'd face. You created a solution to a problem you hadn't even encountered yet." Walker blinked in surprise. "You're happy about this?" "Of course." Dr. Rax's tentacles were now moving so fast, they were almost a blur. "This proves humans don't just adapt to known challenges. You actually try to prepare for unknown ones. Do you realize how rare that is?" Walker hadn't realized it was rare at all. On Earth, we call it research and development. We're always trying to think ahead. Dr. Rax pulled up more holographic displays, showing various alien technologies. Most species develop defenses in response to attacks. They see a weapon, then create armor against it. But humans, you created flexible defense systems that can adapt to unknown attacks, just because you thought something dangerous might exist. When you put it that way, it does sound pretty impressive, Walker admitted. But aren't you going to tell the council about this? Dr. Rax's skin changed to a deep blue color, his species equivalent of a smile. "Tell them what?" "That humans are even more remarkable than we thought. That instead of just having amazing technology, you have an amazing way of thinking about technology." Walker felt himself starting to grin. "So you're saying?" "I'm saying," Dr. Rax interrupted, "that the council would be fools not to work with humans. Your species doesn't just solve problems. You solve problems that don't even exist yet. Imagine what we could learn from each other." As Dr. Rax excitedly began drawing up plans for joint research projects, Walker relaxed. The truth hadn't weakened Earth's position. It had actually made it stronger. Sometimes the best diplomacy wasn't about having the most advanced technology, but about having the most innovative approach to creating it. 1 week after the plasma incident, Captain Walker stood in the council chamber again. This time, however, was different. The massive room was packed with representatives from every council species, and the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. The head councilor's crystalline form glowed with all the colors of the rainbow as they announced, "Today marks a historic moment. The council has voted unanimously to fast-track Earth's membership application." Walker tried to maintain his diplomatic composure, but he couldn't help smiling. Behind him, Dr. Rax's tentacles wiggled with barely contained joy. The scientist had become Walker's strongest supporter over the past week, especially after their shared secret about the experimental armor. Furthermore, the head counselor continued, "We are establishing a new joint technology development program. This program will combine council resources with human innovation." The jellyfish-like alien floated forward. "Captain Walker, your species has shown us something remarkable. While we focused on perfecting existing technologies, humans dream up solutions to problems they haven't even faced yet. That's just how we think," Walker explained. "On Earth, we have a saying, 'Better to have it and not need it, then need it, and not have it. The council chamber filled with the sounds of translation devices as each species tried to understand this new human wisdom. The insectoid scientist's antennae twitched rapidly as it processed the concept. Fascinating, the insectoid declared. You prepare for unknown dangers, just in case they exist. Is this why your experimental armor worked against our plasma weapons? Walker noticed Dr. Rax's worried tentacle wiggle at the mention of experimental, but the council members seemed to take it as just another example of human ingenuity. Speaking of that, the head counselor said, "We have our first joint project ready to announce. Using the principles of your nanofiber mesh combined with our plasma technology, we've developed something new." At a signal, the center of the chamber lit up with a holographic display. It showed a new type of protective shield, one that combined the adaptability of human nanofibers with the power of alien energy fields. "We're calling it the Walker Shield," the head counselor announced, causing Walker to blush. "It's 10 times stronger than our previous defensive systems, and it can adapt to new types of attacks automatically." The chamber erupted in excited chatter. Walker caught fragments of conversations about other possible combinations of human and alien technology. Someone mentioned using the shield technology to protect ships during faster-than-light travel. Another group was discussing how to adapt it for exploration of extreme environments. "And this," the jellyfish alien said proudly, "is just the beginning. Imagine what else we might create together." Walker stepped forward. "Earth is honored by this opportunity. We have much to learn from the Council's advanced science. And maybe," he added with a smile, "we can share some of our camping equipment designs too." This got a laugh from the Council members who understood the reference to how Earth's protective technology had started. Even the head counselor's crystal surface sparkled with amusement. "There is one condition," the head counselor added, their tone becoming serious. "Earth must agree to share all major technological developments with the Council, just as we will share ours with you." "Agreed," Walker said immediately. He knew Earth's scientists would be thrilled. Having access to alien technology would advance human science by centuries, even with the sharing requirement. As the chamber filled with the sounds of celebration, Dr. Rax moved closer to Walker. "Not bad for someone who showed up wearing experimental armor," the scientist whispered teasingly. Walker grinned. "Sometimes the best way to make friends is to show them you trust them enough to test new technology in their presence." "Is that another Earth saying?" Dr. Rax asked curiously. "No," Walker laughed. "That's just good diplomacy." 5 years had passed since the famous plasma incident, and the Star Seeker looked very different now. Human engineers worked alongside alien scientists in its laboratories, and the corridors were filled with a mix of species from both Earth and the Council worlds. Captain Walker, now Admiral Walker, stood at a window overlooking Earth. Next to him, Dr. Rax was teaching a group of new human and alien students about advanced shield technology. The scientist's tentacles moved excitedly as he told the story everyone on the ship knew by heart. And then, Dr. Rax said dramatically, instead of being vaporized, he laughed. Just laughed. That's when we knew humans were different. The students listened with wide eyes and various sensing organs. A young human engineer raised her hand. "Is it true the first Walker shield was built from camping equipment?" "Not exactly," Walker cut in, smiling as he joined the group. "But that's how we got the idea. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones." Dr. Rax's skin rippled with amusement. "Simple solutions, like the new Mars atmospheric shields, or the Venus acid-proof colonies, or perhaps you mean the Jupiter gas mining stations." "All right, maybe not so simple anymore," Walker admitted. The projects they'd completed in the past 5 years still amazed him. Human creativity combined with alien technology had led to achievements nobody had thought possible. A small alien student, looking like a floating ball of fluff, spoke up. "Admiral, is it true you didn't know if the armor would work when you first came aboard?" Walker exchanged a knowing look with Dr. Rax. That part of the story had become public knowledge 2 years ago, and instead of causing scandal, It had only increased the aliens' fascination with human methods. That's true, Walker said. We had tested it against everything we could think of on Earth, but alien plasma weapons, that was a first. Humans, the fluffy student exclaimed with what sounded like admiration. You test things by just trying them. With proper safety measures, Walker added quickly, seeing some worried looks from the non-human students. We don't just rush in blindly. Usually, Dr. Rax added with a tentacle wiggle of amusement. The viewing window suddenly lit up as a ship emerged from faster-than-light travel. It was Earth's newest exploration vessel, protected by the latest version of the Walker shield. Its hull gleamed with the combined technology of a dozen worlds. That, Walker said proudly, is the real legacy of the plasma incident. Not just the shields or the colonies, but this. He gestured at the mixed group of students. Different species working together, learning from each other, finding new ways to solve problems. And laughing about it, Dr. Rax added, we've learned that human humor is a surprisingly effective problem-solving tool. As if to prove his point, alarms suddenly blared through the ship. Warning, the computer announced. Unexpected energy surge in Laboratory 7. Instead of panic, the announcement was met with groans and chuckles. Laboratory 7 was where human scientists tested new ideas, and unexpected energy surges have become almost routine. Someone's probably trying to turn a toaster into a teleporter again, Walker sighed. But he was smiling. Or adapting a bicycle to travel through time, Dr. Rax added, his skin changing to the blue shade of amusement. As they headed off to check on the latest human experiment, Walker heard one alien student ask another, "What's a toaster?" "I'll explain later," came the reply. But knowing humans, it's probably something dangerous that they use for fun. Walker laughed, the sound echoing down the corridor just like it had 5 years ago in the council chamber. Some things hadn't changed. Humans were still surprising their alien friends, and the galaxy was a more interesting place because of it.